Jake Paul is literally starving. With only 4 pounds to lose before his battle with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on Saturday night, he's already picturing every punch, every round, and every result, and he says the Mexican is just a step closer to winning the world title. In an exclusive interview with Mail Sport, Paul admits, "I am a little bit hungry. I have 4 pounds left to lose, but aside from that, I have the most energy I've ever had before a bout. But don't get me wrong, losing weight calls for a great deal of self-control. You need to get rid of all temptation. It's a really difficult task, but to be honest, it's enjoyable. You can overcome it if you frame it that way and consider it a good challenge. However, losing the final few pounds while in the sauna is the only unpleasant part. You truly feel as though you're about to die. You have the impression that you are in the middle of a desert and in dire need of water. It feels like you're watching a completely horrific movie where people are starving to death." It's one of those quotes that seems exaggerated until you realize who said it. Extremes were the foundation of Paul's career. However, he is no longer merely a viral diversion in boxing, a sport that has had its fair share of showmen. Paul is battling for more than just credibility when he takes on Chavez Jr., a former world champion and the son of a legend. According to the YouTuber-turned-professional boxer, if he defeats Chavez Jr. at the Honda Center on Saturday night, he will come one step closer to the world title he has been hankering after, and the WBC and WBA are willing to offer him a world ranking. Regarding the actual battle, Paul maintains that, at least in his imagination, what takes place in the ring on Saturday is predetermined. He continues, "I perform that visitation ceremony prior to every fight. I move into the ring's corner. I begin the procedure by sitting precisely where I will be on fight night. It combines visualization, meditation, and breath work. It can become quite intense. I'm a strong believer in manifestation, which is visualizing the outcome you want to achieve and seeing yourself carrying it out. It implies that you are truly calling in a higher reality and that synapses fire more quickly when you are in the room. Additionally, it's all about connecting with God and expelling any negative energy. Since boxing is perhaps more mental than physical, you need to synchronize your thoughts. It is detrimental to the sport to be unable to control your emotions and dread." Paul's ambition has risen along with his passion with the cerebral aspect of boxing. Paul states his world title ambitions loudly and unabashedly, in contrast to most fighters who work on them in silence. You're actually making that reality happen faster when you're putting those sound vibrations into the universe, he claims. Therefore, your goals will come to you more quickly the sooner you share them with the world. The law of attraction is straightforward. Since I was little, I have been doing it. It functions. You also need to believe. However, some individuals simply wait for things to happen, but you also have to strive for them to happen. Fans, previous combatants, and media experts have all expressed skepticism about that view. Paul, however, maintains that he has overcome the dread that dogged his early boxing career. "In the beginning, I wouldn't say I suffered from imposter syndrome, but I was really afraid to enter the ring. That was due to the fact that I was unaware of my own capabilities. I had no idea that I could defeat so many of these men. Many of the battles I fought in my early days were 50-50 contests. There was a great deal at stake, which caused a great deal of anxiety. It was more important to learn how to perform and deal with that dread. There is still fear," he says. "However, it is now weaponized, particularly the fear of disgrace and failure. I was more afraid of failing in front of others than I was of being physically knocked out. However, I believe that fear is a positive thing. It is necessary for you to exert yourself. It elevates you in your daily existence. I'm on the verge of putting myself in a situation where I will have to fight my way out. I have to hold myself to a higher level if I'm saying these things. As a result, I often say these things, but I'm really challenging myself with them. That's a significant portion. In addition, I'm afraid of what might occur in the ring and what might happen to me physically if things don't work out. It has become an obsession to prepare." Using the money he earned from his Mike Tyson bout, he recently spent time at a $39 million ranch where he renovated his camp with a pop-up gym. "We've been training in Puerto Rico for the past 5 years, so I wanted to switch things up for a week or two," Paul adds. "I constructed a pop-up gym on my investment property and conducted some training there. It was a pleasant diversion. The work is harsh on a daily basis." Paul's regimen is unrelenting under strength and conditioning coach Larry Wade. Training with Larry Wade is really difficult and demanding. He is insane. Before starting the training, he gets himself riled up by listening to Halloween-themed, intense, and murderous music, which he then projects onto you. It resembles the theme song by Michael Myers. It's really hard, and at various points during the camp, we often have to reach milestones like 1,000 ab crunches and 100 unbroken press-ups. It provides a starting point so you can see where you are and where you can go. In particular, you can think of those milestones and know you're prepared when you go into battle. In contrast, Wade told DAZN, if you can perform 100 push-ups in a row, that indicates that you have the strength and conditioning necessary to sustain it. This implies that you don't need to take a break when it's time to throw hands. That being said, the workout that Jake talks about the most is the 800, 400, 200, 200 workout, Wade continued. He will run 800 m, 400 m, 200 m, and another 200 m, with a minute of rest between each run. We can do that at least twice and up to 4 times, depending on where we are in camp. Paul has learned to block off the outside world in order to concentrate. Sometimes, literally. Because there are always people bugging you, I used to get a brand new phone before every fight. I no longer receive new phones, but I still don't reply to messages. You aren't even aware of how much attention is being diverted from the primary objective and focus. You are unaware of how exhausting using social media and your phone can be. I'll go put my phone in a drawer and live my life as a raw dog. Perhaps more telling than Paul's discussion of strategies, weight reductions, or even titles prior to the Chavez Jr. match is his discussion of perception. He used to enjoy playing the villain in boxing's pantomime, but for years he has been cast in that position. However, the act seems to be changing at the age of 27. I don't necessarily want to be the villain I've been portrayed as when I get older. I still like being that S*** head occasionally, don't get me wrong. I can play into the fact that I was always the class clown, but those who read more closely understand what I'm doing and understand that drama sells. Since I started YouTube, I've been the target of hate and villainization, so I kind of had to accept it. However, I believe the tide is turning. 50% of the world's population perceives me for who I am. This animosity and resentment toward me is compiled by those who only read the headlines and clickbait. The edge is never far, though. He almost gleefully discusses the prospect of facing Anthony Joshua next year in front of 100,000 spectators in the UK, practically all of whom will jeer him. Wembley is, in my opinion, the most famous location for that fight. It would, in my opinion, be among the most bizarre altercations and incidents in history. In fact, I would be entering the Lions' Denver. Jake Paul is being chanted by 100,000 people. I'm just excited about that for some reason. In fact, I'm eager. It's vintage Jake Paul, self-awareness encased in spectacle, with equal parts chaos and calculation. However, the noise might finally start to subside if he defeats Chavez Jr. on Saturday night. And what's left could be a contender rather than a gimmick. On Saturday, June 28th, Jake Paul vs. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. will be aired exclusively on DAZN PPV. Click here to buy the PPV.